pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You hear that, Sharon?
I did.
It's starting to snow out here.
Oh my.
I didn't do it.
When will we get circle wagon?
That's right.
Philadelphia
Just a
was
little
supposed to
bit.
get 18 inches of snow. They got almost 2. New York shut down. They have like 4 inches or something.
Yeah, just don't worry. You don't have to worry until Mike Seidel shows up. Then you need to worry.
They're out there fake. They're like, oh yeah, they're throwing snow in here. Oh, the winds are really blowing.
I like the newscaster with a ruler, not a flake. He's got a ruler.
Okay, we finished yesterday.
Oh, good.
Unless somebody has any
No,
other suggestion,
Yeah.
finished at the
We just,
Yeah.
as a follow-up from yesterday, most of you already have them, but provided this morning was a copy of the tennis first page where it gives a little history on tennis, and a cover page for the police department where the grants are broken out, both requests for yesterday.
Thank you.
Thank
All right, pull that together.
Actually, miscommunication probably because of the way
What's that?
but I was not really. I had that police part of that, except it broke out the grants, which helps.
Right.
I was looking for total dollars from the county last week.
Understood. We're going to get that.
Okay.
Of course, we'd have that at the end of the week, but I want to get those broken out for your budget.
Thank you.
yacht club. Not everybody.
You want me to break the ice?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Morty.
Payroll. Good Lord.
It's obviously one significant topic discussion.
From 32 to 49.
Maybe Bob can.
Well, I think that sort of floated over the buck.
Okay, well, it's the payroll question.
Yes.
A couple of things. There's significant payroll increase. Let's talk from 2 components. First, we recognize payroll for the years has been one of our biggest challenges. So we recognize that needs improvement. We talked about it at length with the BNF committee. I've talked to the leadership down at the yacht club about it, when we're building the budget. So we recognize it. Now, with that being said, there will be some increases year over year with the new facility online now because it's just a larger facility with more activities. So you're going to have payroll increases with the combination of the additional banquet and event business along with the a la carte business. It's just we have a lot more going on now. So you have that combination. Now, with that being said, we do recognize what the national standards are. And we're above that with the payroll expenses. And we're going to try to dial that in this year. But from a budgetary standpoint, we started here.
Can you explain, are there more servers, are there more bartenders, or more across the board? Is there any position hired?
No, well, there's one full-time employee increase in this budget, and that's for the sous chef. He's been with us multiple years, but that's right. So that's the one full-time employee that we're proposing. So that's the second one, and that's the only 2 that we have in the entire budget this year. One aquatics, one here, but it is for all the bar situation, larger dining facility, all those things this year have added to it. Now, our ratios are still too high, and we recognize that.
And how do you think you could tone this down if we find out we don't need
Well, when you're looking at payroll like this, when you're looking at staff, you do what they call at the club VD, volume decline, which is when as the numbers change, you're able to let people go earlier, and effective management does that. The other issue that comes up is better training of the staff so they can be more efficient with their operation, would then require less staff to do the same job. So I think that's the combination we need to strongly look at this year, and I've talked to Linda and Tim about it. And then obviously that we'll have that same conversation as whoever's new, manager at the club.
When do you anticipate that? Any idea?
No, we're next month or two. We're going to start going through that process. I was really hoping Linda would stay on.
I was hoping she would.
I'm not sure I get her committed. She is. She's awesome.
Yeah, and the staff love her, as do the patrons. Patrons are very positive.
Is she not staying?
No, she runs our beach club.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that's where her home is. She likes that, and that's where she would like to remain.
Bob, can I ask you a question? Is it maybe the reason for the increase in payroll is because the club was open for part of the time?
Well, yeah, no, that's a great point. Last year, the club wasn't open for the full month of May, so we have weeks there. So we have more hours of operation just with the new club being online, a larger facility. So it's a combination of all those things this year. And please understand, learning the first year, we're 7 months in, and we're learning the operation more and more. This is our first winter with the new club, so we're just learning the facility and the staffing needs based on volume. And the hours about, the Thursday through Sunday, expand it or reduce it. I mean, they're all things we're looking at now.
I may be misheard. The number of additional employees you're talking about is a 40% increase.
Okay.
Is 15 or 16 new employees?
16 FTEs.
FTEs, full-time equivalent. 15 full-time or 16 full-time
But
additional
the
employees.
benefits there.
Right.
Explain. I think there's a miss.
I know what it means.
I don't know what it means. Could you
Okay.
explain?
Go ahead, Art.
Just more people around, more hours of operation.
Like servers don't have benefits. They're not dealing with the benefit package.
Right. You still got, some other residual payroll costs, Social Security, unemployment, workers' comp, that sort of thing. But you have, with our operations being a little bit more banquet area and stuff, you got two kitchens going, you got cooks upstairs, downstairs, dishwashers upstairs, downstairs. There's just people around in the other building. So that's basically now, the FTEs. I'll take a look at that again, Marty, because I did have a couple of sessions with Linda and the payroll details that we were working with. She had put together along with Tim and anybody else up at that level. And, we saw some things and we reduced some things from what this is now. It wasn't more than this. So, we went through it twice and tried to figure out, okay, we're only going to need this many cooks or this many dishwashers. Not so concerned about the waiters and waitresses, but it's the people back that are that are the ones that we have to watch those hours for. So that's really the the reason for that. The FTEs, may be when I first calculated the FTEs, that was earlier, so I can do that again. That would make a difference. But
I can clarify. The entire budget, there's 2 full-time people. Narcotics. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's correct.
And
With benefits.
plus with benefits.
With benefits.
And
Right.
then an IT position to be filled.
Yes.
Okay. So
Right.
that would be it.
But that's been in the budget.
That's been the
That's
budget. Right.
already-
But
it's
in the
not
new
in-
budget, we have 2 new full. Okay.
right.
Okay. Just want to clear.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still
And you can,
40% increase over last year. Also,
well, that budget is prepared and
If the budget was prepared without the knowledge of the new facility being online, if you're comparing the budget with the increase,
okay,
okay, so that's where part of the differential is, because we were high if you recall, over the summer months, we were way too high with our payroll expenses, and we recognize that. But the new facility coming online, and we were way above, also because the original budget was built with no knowledge of the new club, and we didn't open until May. So just getting our understanding of the efficiencies in the operation of the overall club this year's been a learning experience.
okay.
If it were requested of you to take a relook at this salary, this expense on the employee side, where would you make your initial adjustments? On the restaurant side or the banquet side?
It would have to be, Jack, you know what? We'd have to look at, we've already cut it twice, so this would be a third look at it. We've already cut them both down. It'd probably be, I think, our restaurant side. I mean,
Yeah.
That's probably the best guess.
On the restaurant side.
It's really the back of the house. It's really the kitchen. That area.
Do restaurant employees, I'm talking about on the floor,
Sure.
the folks that work, do they pull double duty upstairs? Can they work upstairs on the banquet side?
They can.
Does that happen?
But there's
Yep.
still hours.
Oh, I know. And vice versa. Banquet side can work down on the
Yes.
restaurant side.
Yes.
Yeah, different pay rates for depending on what kind of job they're doing.
Does everybody have a feel for how many employees we're talking about?
yeah, bunch,
Huh?
I don't know.
bunch.
Well, what's the number?
You can tell them an FTE or whatever you call it. I mean, that was,
Well, just
Full-time
number of
equivalent.
employees,
Full-time.
bodies, full-time, part-time. Keep it simple.
It's page 3 in section 1.
16. An FTE just normalizes.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Full-time equivalent.
It's not an actual person.
Right.
Talking about 37.35 total FTEs.
Now that includes the floor as well as the kitchen.
It's
Yeah,
everyone in the
Everyone
building.
in the restaurant and the banquet facility.
Bussers, runners,
Everybody.
waitresses, hostesses,
Everybody, yeah.
everybody.
Right.
Well, obviously the cooks is the biggest. You could jump from 70 to 165. That's what it jumped. 95,000. It's over double. You must have a lot more.
Now, without
Correct.
getting into great detail in restaurant standards, because it's hard to flat out justify, when you look at national standards, which we looked at extensively this year, for restaurants, we are, for the size, for the volume of the restaurant, we're far below, believe it or not, the number of employees against the national standard at a $2 million restaurant. Now, again, you all could say, no, that's not. I can tell you, we looked at the standards. We're below that. But we still, where we're too high is that 49% payroll cost actually has to get down. We're guessing closer to 38, 37. That's our goal this year, is to bring that down in that area. And if we're able to do that, everything else falls very
Well, how would that be done? How do you bring that down?
better training, so people are more efficient, so you don't need, if you can provide the efficiency in the, let's say in the dish area, let's start with the dishwasher, where the flow of where the trays come in, to how quickly they get through the dishwasher system and then restack into the appropriate place, as opposed to having 3 people trying to coordinate that. If you get it down to 2, then you're obviously cutting down the hours of employees, but you're efficient in your operation. You still have to get them cleaned, sorted, and restacked.
Sure.
So there's some efficiency differentials there that we don't think, because we opened up right at Memorial Day weekend, we opened up full tilt. Those efficiencies did not take place last year.
Sure.
It was kind of the mad dash.
Sure.
So as we entered the fall season, we're able to sit back, look back, and go, we need to think about what did we do well and what didn't we do well with our staffing situation. So dish is the best example because it's the easiest. How do we handle the incoming stocking when the product arrives? You know, the liquor product to the food products. What days do they arrive, and how many staff do we have to receive those? Mark them in, and then put them where they're supposed to be. Those type of things we were not efficient with last year at all. I mean, again, we just opened flat out full tilt run. Now we're evaluating those things. So it's things like that where I believe we can make a big difference. We now have a facility that's designed well, where we know what we have. So I mean, just cleaning up so we know where in the storeroom things are. So an employee doesn't take 5 minutes to find a bottle of liquor. They can go and grab it in 2. All those little efficiencies over the period of a day, a week, a month, and a season make a huge difference in that bottom line. So I think it's more training and being more organized in our approach. And that's a lot of what we've been talking about.
Bill?
If I heard one constant complaint last year, and, there was some problems with food and, just consistency and all that kind of stuff. If I heard one complaint all the time, it was lack of employees. Have enough employees to handle the crowds and all that. And if you're going to if there's one thing that's going to chase people away, they're standing in line for a long time and can't get a drink or whatever. They're going elsewhere. This is new. Last year we were just thrown into the fire. This is going to take some time to sort it out. You can't just run in there. We're running as efficient as we can. It just doesn't happen that way.
So, we believe that, and you're right, and we believe this year we can be more efficient because we're smarter about the use of the facility. I mean, we just are. I mean, if you walk through it today versus where it was even August, September timeframe, which is the layout in the back of the house of where dishes are stacked, where product is stacked. It's just different, and those differences are what make a restaurant effective and efficient in their operation.
I'm agreeing with Bill, and I'm pleased to see that you guys have a handle on the numbers. You know where the issues are. You know what percentage you want to get down to. You got a goal. That's great. You've got a good staff there. Get to it. I think you can do it. Of course, increasing revenue will help get those numbers down. I have some other questions off payroll. If I may get into those, Dave, is that all right? Or are we done?
No, I'd like to stay on payroll.
When you're done, I'd like to come in.
Sure. I'm just trying to assimilate what I heard. So basically, we're saying, and truly enough, that you just opened it up, and put it crudely, we didn't exactly know what we were doing. We didn't have experience from the facility or anything like that. During the summer, one of the things that was obvious is that we had our personnel costs were high. I mean, it was very high. And of course, even though we were breaking new records with revenues, costs were still driving our losses. Losses. Okay, now, as we go along, though, you say we get more efficiency. Okay, so we're getting better. The operations are better. Of course, we got on-the-job training, I suppose, and the personnel get more experience. They know what they're doing better. We move towards that as we get towards the fall. And so now we've got the more experience, we've got the more efficiency, and the disconnect with me is that now our solution for this year is to add a whole lot more employees, more personnel, and I don't quite get that. If we're more efficient, we have better training, and why are we increasing personnel rather than decreasing? I don't get it. And Bill, your anecdotal remark is okay. I mean, I'm sure that's your experience. You may have been in there more often than I have when it's crowded, but I've been in there quite often. When it's not crowded, there are tons of personnel standing around with nothing, literally nothing. So I can't buy this as a solution. I mean, it doesn't add up to me. We will be more efficient. We're going to get better training. We're going to add a whole lot more personnel. And, by the way, we sort of make that balance out to a $87,000 loss at the end by increasing our revenues. How much? A lot. 2.1.
About 18%.
An 18% increase in revenues. I don't know. That to me is very shaky budget. Very shaky.
Well, see, I strongly disagree. Very shaky, because we can document how we got our revenue expectations based on this year's experience to include a much greater banquet event type booking. So we are making strides forward based on our this year's experience. It isn't just guessing at it. Really trying to take a strong look at the facility now, and now with what's booked with the additional events, weddings, those type of things. They're measurable that we already have. I mean, in 2016 with that.
Well, that's one of the things, unfortunately, haven't yet got to see, which is what exactly is our plan and how we're going to come from. But putting that aside, and we're saying that we're going to break records in revenues. Okay, so you can justify that and show it that's really going to happen. And 2.143 in total revenue. How much revenue will it take for us to break even on the aqua?
If we're more efficient in our back-end operations, we can do it without the revenue increase. We need to be more efficient on the bottom line, and we recognize that the biggest break is our inefficiency on pay.
And are you saying that by adding more people, we're going to be more efficient?
Possibly.
And we're going. This is a never-ending spiral.
It's not. It absolutely not. And here's why. We're not even a full year in operation of a brand new facility. So there's one that we have to say, well, we've had this for years. We haven't. The facility's set, 8 months, 9 months in operation? We haven't had a full winter with it. We had our first summer, but we opened Memorial Day weekend, so we didn't even have the ramp up, some of the training, some of the things that we could have used last year that we opened to have. We didn't have that opportunity, so we can open with more efficiency. So there's one. Two, the operational value of understanding. Some of the things, we had a lot of overtime costs last year. Okay, that was taking certain employees and working them extraordinary hours, which you can do for restaurant business. Well, at that, your price points are different than if you had 2 employees covering that same type of schedule. You have a lower price point per employee when you do. So there are some efficiencies with a few more employees that you do pick up. So we tried to take a look at all of that. We tried to go month to month, see what our volume would be. Try to look at what a better staffing requirement would be to meet those needs, to include, like I said, some of the dish, some of the receiving. Those type of things are all components we've been looking at very, very closely. So it's not just a swag. We really are trying to dial in on this. Now, if there's a better way to do it, we're welcome to hear it. But to say we're not trying or we're not effectively doing it, I would argue that we are, given the 7-8 months of operation with the new facility.
I'm only looking at your bottom line, because that's all I'm really seeing.
Sure.
I don't see the details. I see exactly the trade, precisely what you're doing with respect to the state. But I do see that we're, in fact, increasing our revenues by, what you say, 18%. We're projecting that perhaps we'll make it. And we're increasing our staff. And we're going to lose money. Jack?
Two things that I would need qualified in my mind to go along with the rationale that is being presented, which I think is a good rationale, as far as efficiency is concerned, is number one, how many returning employees do we have trained last year that are going to come back that could act as a cadre to help those new hires learn the job a little bit more effectively and efficiently, number one. And number two, the conversation around the table is we don't even have a manager for this particular place. Definitely, we do not have a manager. So, I think that if what I need to get solid in my head is number of returning employees that is going to create that efficiency, and what we are going to do in terms of what the game plan is, what the strategy is, what the position is to replace the manager.
Jeff, I can appreciate those questions. They're good. But
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. My throat.
No.
Okay, I can appreciate those questions. Good questions. My question is this, board, and this is day-to-day operation.
No, I'm not. No, that's not.
I don't think we're in policy. I don't think we're in day-to-day operation.
No, it's not day-to-day operation. It has nothing to do with. It has to do with a strategy, Sharon.
Okay, explain it to me more.
Okay. Well, when I was a summer employee down here, there were certain places that I worked, and I was hired back each year.
Right.
As a kid. And I became, I don't want to say a supervisor or what have you, but they would put junior employees with me, and I'd show them the ropes.
Oh, I understand that concept.
That's all.
Okay.
Okay, so
but why do we at our level need to know
so
that?
all I'm asking generally is that defined? How many returning employees do we have? Number two, what is the strategy as far as the manager is concerned of that particular facility? Because if they are not in place, then Bob's challenges are going to be multiplied, double, maybe even triple, to make it a reality. I mean, I'd like to see zero down there. We budgeted zero last year, and we didn't make it, but that's what we budgeted.
We budgeted. That was our fault. As a board.
That's not what we budgeted.
Well, I know it's not what you budgeted. But we took that on us.
We missed what they budgeted too.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's an unreasonable question. That's my match. I just don't.
It's oversight. That's our job.
Here.
Oversight.
All right, well, let me provide you insight for your oversight.
That's good.
Okay.
I like that. That's pretty good.
As to how many returning employees, anyone that knows the marketplace down here and understands Ocean City knows that returning employees are very much dependent on when these kids for the wait staff graduate from college, if they have been offered full-time or longer employment in the seasonal side for other facilities, whether they come back. Here in this particular area, a lot of people lay off, and then you hope your best ones come back. So I can't give you a definitive, these are the 6 wait staff, here are the 8 dish staff, I can't, because you just don't know that. They may have either found another job, graduated from college. I mean, one of the things that we had positive input from, as an example, for the front of the house last season, was our wait staff. Had a lot of positive, feedback on attitude and approach. Many of those kids are graduating. Don't know if they'll work another season and then start their work, or if they'll, I can't definitively give you that answer. I just don't know that. I don't think anyone could, given the nature of the seasonality of it. As for the new manager,
if I might say, the thrust of my question is, no one has reached out to you, to anyone, saying, I'd like to come back.
No, we have a few that have identified it. We also have a few that have said, we don't know if we're going to have a summer job or if we're going to try to go, graduating college this year, we're going to write workplace. We just don't know that. So it's a mix, but I can't say there's 6 of them, there's 8 of them. You don't count anybody until they're here.
Got it.
Now, from the manager's standpoint, there's no one more keenly aware of their job responsibility to have a manager at the club. I've said it all along. We're going to get through the fall. We're going to get through the Christmas holidays. And then in January, we'll start to evaluate where we need to go with it. I've said all along, I've been open about it, Linda would be my first choice if she's dead. So I've had a full court press on her since she took over, hoping that she would be our nod. It does not appear that she's going to take that role, but I never count anything out, you know. But if she's not, she'll help us hire the new man. I've already had some folks reach out to me from local area that are serving that role with other restaurants, and we'll start to expedite that process shortly. I recognize we need to have a manager in place. I'm not going to open the season without a manager.
Yeah, that's not the question. You know.
Oh, no, I know what I'm saying. But the sooner the better for us, you know, but I'm not going to give you a target, say we definitely will have someone hired at the end of February or the 1st of March or whatever, because we need to get the right person in there, and it may take transition. You got to go through a process, much like we did before. You know, so I don't want to give you a definitive, here's what it is. By early spring, it's our intent to have men, whoever it may be.
Well, I'm sure you will, but, I mean, it's not exactly the point. The point is that you're talking about creating more efficiencies based upon experience that we had last year. I mean, that's a key component of doing this. You're talking about training of people coming in. We have, as you say, a undefined term of past employees, so we'll have a mix of maybe a few experienced and some highly inexperienced employees coming in. They're all coming in and being hired, a lot of them, and during this spring to summer period, when, of course, they get out of school and available. And now, the problem is that making that work, okay, and at the same time lacking an experienced manager. Now, when I say experience, they can be experienced as they want over at Vegas or someplace else. I mean, unless they've had the experience with this particular club, how effective are they going to be? I mean, this is very shaky budget, and I can't accept the idea that hiring 14, 16 FTEs is going to make it better.
All right, to answer your question, first about the management side, where I think the critical we're overlooking is our kitchen team, our kitchen manager, the exec chef, is extremely experienced. This will be his second full season with the new club, and a lot of our back-end staff he oversees. So we have one of our critical components filled with a qualified exec chef who does a fantastic job. So the new manager of the facility will be relieved of having to deal with that internal training and upgrade because we already have someone in that place. So one of the critical components for us this year, which I believe is a huge plus, is having Tim there. So that is a key training spot. He has a handful of his team that have remained through the winter, and then he'll reach back out to his staff to rebuild in the back end. Big component for us. Very, very different than what we've had in the past. So I think there are some things like that are working in our favor this year that we just haven't had that level of experience. Not in recent years.
Yeah. I think we could probably talk about this pay spring. I said once 2 years ago, it might have been even 3 years ago, in the budget and finance part of managing it, I believe we had the highest paid, lowest compensated servers on the beach. And I was sort of told that's just not the case, that we don't pay our wait staff anything else does. I had an opportunity last summer to go through the actual pay records for about 5 weeks worth of pay records with the Yacht Club. And I'll tell you what, I don't remember seeing one person making $2.99 an hour. Everybody from senior management down at Favors, BJ's, Secrets, Hoopers makes $2.99 an hour. I think our payroll is just absolutely out of line.
Not $2.99.
Well, whatever it is now.
$3.63.
$3.63, and
Okay,
then after
well,
that,
you know,
everything goes back to the house
minor
at Secrets.
they make tips.
It's all tips.
They have to make tips up to the margin.
Correct. If you took 10 knowledgeable college kids, anybody here can answer this question. It's obvious, and gave them a choice of working at the Ocean Prime Jockey or Secrets, Beggars, BJ's, Hoopers. We wouldn't even compete. Not even close.
Okay, what's your point?
My
what's
point
the
is this payroll is not right because this is not operating.
So hang on a second. So they're not going to come to work for us.
Highest paid, lowest compensated.
Okay,
You understand the difference?
of course I do.
Okay.
I've hired people just like you have.
Okay.
Okay. Your comment says they can make more tips over there.
Bingo.
Okay. How do you solve that with a budget?
You solve it with an operation.
You certainly don't solve it by lowering their hourly salary and having them choose to go work somewhere else. So you lose everybody that has any experience here. Any experience here, you lose them to other restaurants because you've now lowered their salary. We can't up their tips. I mean, we can't control that with this
Then
budget.
maybe we ought to look at another way of doing this, Tom.
Well,
the two
what is
best
it?
years we ever had. Let's address them. One was 96 when we leased the damn thing out. The other was 2010 when we had one half the payroll projected.
I think it's too broke for that.
So do I. Can I
Okay, let's
take a
lose
moment?
another couple
Okay.
$100,000.
All right. Yes, sure. Can I? Yeah. Yes, thank you. I'm looking at page 3, and I'm just trying to, as I'm walking down the page, 18%, 15%, all these numbers get thrown around, all these big numbers get thrown. Let's get down to, it looks to me like you're adding the equivalent of a person to help in banquet sales. Is that right? Banquet sales is a big deal for us.
Yes.
Is your head shaking? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Coordinator.
All right. That
Coordinating.
So we're adding banquet coordinator and we're adding some payroll to banquet sales. It's a big deal for us. That's a person. Bartenders. It looks like, what are you adding? 1 or 2? I'm looking at 45 to 60. Is that a person? Is that 2 people?
Bartender.
Bodies. I'm not talking about FTEs. I'm talking about bodies.
Yeah, that's
I don't have the.
Well, I mean, just off the top of your head, is that like a person or 2? Bodies. Are they
But a half.
1.5?
How is that possible?
That's what I'm.
Here, you just made my point. I don't know a bartender working the summer on the beach that makes less than 60.
Okay. I'm asking my question. My question is, we're upping the payroll $15,000. Is that a body? That's a person working a number of hours.
I can't answer that specific time. It's reasonable what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Cooks, it looks like we added 3. I'm just throwing out numbers. These are bodies, people. Dishwashers, maybe 1. Wait staff, 1. $9,000 different. Busing staff, maybe it's 1 or 2. Utility, seasonal, that's a person. Got rid of the housekeeping staff. And my point in all this is when you look at the overall number, it's 18% increase. Oh my God. When you look at the different job descriptions,
Did you say 18%?
well, whatever it is.
40%.
Whatever.
That's close.
40%.
Okay. It's a 40% increase. When you get to the bodies you're talking about, it's how many different busboys are you going to have than you had this year? It's 1. It's 3 cooks. Maybe we need them. We probably do. The question to me becomes, if it's 40%, okay, it's 40%. When I look at these things, I want to know how many bodies we're adding, how many people, full-time equivalents is a nice way of looking at big, bold numbers. I'm not how many people are walking through the door to go to work that day to do what job. And to me, they've added, it looks to me like we're adding, the most thing we're adding is cooks. We're adding more cooks. That's the biggest addition. The rest of them are one more of this, one more of that. This is, I'm not discounting the 40%. I'm not discounting the fact that Bob wants to make the payroll be 38% instead of 48%. That's $235,000 cut. That's what that would take. $235,000.
The increase.
No, that's just you got to cut the whole budget payroll by $235,000 to be at 38% of your revenue.
And that's the increase. $241,000. Boom! We're all in agreement.
Okay.
Like that, you're already back to earth.
And now but you don't have the bus you need. You don't have the 3 cooks you need. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
And you're not in the same operation. 15 budget was prepared a year ago, and without knowledge of what was going to happen in the building. So if you're comparing it to the 15 budget payroll, it's not a comparison.
I'm not. I'm actually comparing.
I don't know.
5 years taking away 14.
If you take,
it's a different.
How's it fair to compare? Just a question I have.
A restaurant is a restaurant is a restaurant.
But you're talking about employees. The question keeps coming up with employees. The size of the facility is larger, and we're doing a lot more with it. So that's where the additional number of employees. Marty, I started with BNF, and I started here with you guys. The concern we have is our payroll costs are high. We believe we can bring those down, but from a budgetary standpoint, we're conservative in our approach with our number. That number that we've included in the budget is in line, pretty close to the previous 4 or 5 years, percent-wise, percentage of revenue. It's in line with that. So we stayed in line, although we recognize we need to make some improvements.
So as the efficiencies through the summer, again, I'm trying to get my arms around this too, because part of me says, if this is the number of people, bodies it takes to run this thing, then that's how many it takes to run it. And then if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. And Fagers is Fagers, and someplace is someplace else. If this is what it takes to run this place, okay. If there are efficiencies that we can get as the summer goes along, well, then the kid who was the busboy, who was getting 30 hours a week, ends up getting 20 instead of 30. Yeah, I mean, if the efficiencies we're talking about are literally saying we can downsize the number of bodies that we have, we can cut back on their hours because we get more efficient, you are saving a little money throughout the year. You're not going to get $235,000 out of it. I mean, either we need these people to run this facility, and if we have to pay them, in your point, Marty, if we have to pay them more money per hour to get them to work here because they're going to make half the number of tips they would make somewhere else, that's the reality. There are times that people in rural America have to pay more salary to get people to move there. It's not that job is necessarily worth more or less. The fact is, to get the right person, you got to pay the money. In this case, we're up against Fagers, where, look, I was a teenager too. I made a ton of money in tips as a busboy. And you're right, I worked at the restaurant where I could make the most money. And they hired my butt every year because I was damn good at it. Okay? We've got to say, this is the situation we're up
It's
against.
self-serving, Tom.
Of course it is.
I never once thought you were a good bus.
I know. That's right. I rose to the level of busboy, so that's how I know how to run a restaurant. Okay? I don't know the first thing about running a restaurant, but what I do know is that you can't win by understaffing something. If this is what it takes to do it, then that's what it takes to do it. And if you can get some efficiencies, great. And if you're up against a juggernaut of Ocean City, which pays higher tips to people that are waitresses and busboys and bartenders, then if you want good staff,
a whole lot
then
more.
you gotta get them here. Yeah, it's that. I mean, you're not up. It's not equal balance. Am I?
You're right.
Am I right? Okay.
I don't know why they took more over there, but I agree with you. They
Well, the
tables
table
turn over a
split.
lot faster.
Turnover,
And so
absolutely.
their percentage of
That's
probably
true.
Yeah.
Still 20%.
So again, I was just trying to get a handle on. Again, big numbers, 40%. All that sounds horrible. When you get down to it, it's one more bus.
It is not.
Well, they
Well,
just said
in
it
that
was.
position.
In
I
that
want the
position.
job. $250,000 bus.
Now, Marty, you didn't listen. He went through and he pointed out all the different possible positions that are going in there.
It was a wild guess. $60,000 worth of bartenders could be 37 bartenders if you're paying them $4 an hour.
We're paying them 6 or 7.
Dave,
That's more than they pay.
Bill had something.
Bill, I'm sorry.
And so does Dennis.
I just want to say, you can run an establishment, third less employees, what kind of establishment. You know, are
An
you running
efficient one. There's the word.
I don't believe that at all. I think what I heard was, why don't we have more bartenders? Why don't we have more waitresses? Why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? Why don't we have this? This place was only open, a month and 2 days. Why don't we have this? Why don't we have more of this? Why don't we have more of this? Why don't we have more of this? And, why do I have to stand in line? Why don't? This is the first year. I mean,
Yes, they pay more money for it. If I can say one thing about
They
my,
don't care if they use it.
if I can say one thing about my experience, okay, what I have, it's like everybody else. When we first started here, I agree. I saw a lot of waitresses standing around the corner, tittering and having a good time while they're eating all these people. I went last Sunday night. I went into the restaurant. There was one waitress. That's all. And she sat me down and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I'm lonely, so on and so forth." Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah. And then there was one bartender, and that's all that was in there. There were employees. That's pretty efficient use of employees.
How many customers?
Well, there was more came in after. But I'm saying before that, Marty, there would be 10 people. That's my point. There isn't 10 people now. They're doing it the right way. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, you're right. We only lost 35,000.
Well, we're.
Okay. I have a contentious question, but I don't mean it to be contentious.
Sure you
Then don't ask it.
Yeah, right.
Good point, Dave.
Go ahead, Jack.
Okay.
Drum roll.
Should we consider possibility? And it's just a question for discussion. Should we consider the possibility of closing the yacht club certain periods of the year in order to develop efficiencies in terms of expense?
Just like all the smart owners on the beach do? Nah.
We are not a beach market.
We are a beach market. Where do you think you
We're a
live? Sioux
homeowners
Falls, South
association.
Dakota? This is
Marty,
Ocean City.
We're right here. Bring it
Well,
down.
that's
Just
so
enough.
okay.
We are not a beach market. These people are residents that go there and use this. This is our club. It's a club. It's a restaurant. It's open to the public, but it's used by our membership. And Jack, I think it's a good question, but I would be personally against it. I like the 4 days, the Thursday through Sunday. I think they've done a good job paring it down. We have certain people are on staff no matter what, and I think keep it running. We're still booking events throughout the year, bringing people in. Thursday nights you've got groups going there because of the prime rib night. You got the happy hour group there Friday night. Place is packed at Friday night. Probably not as much on Sunday now that it's over, but they're bringing in trivia nights now on Sunday. They're going to do wine tastings. Teresa was giving me a list. I don't remember all. I'm sorry, Teresa. Maybe you could share. But there's a lot of activities going on there in the next couple months to bring our people in to use their facility. And it's for us. It's our club. So personally, Jack, that would be my vote.
No, we're not voting on that.
I know, but I'm just telling you, he asked the question,
Go
and
ahead.
I'm telling you my thoughts.
When was it when we closed the yacht club without fail? What was it, the 80s? Until the 80s? I mean,
Yes,
when I
because the
say
facility was
closed,
open.
I meant turn the key, put
Because
Antifreeze
this
in the
was
pipes.
open for a facility to be used.
This was open for as a facility use because it was smaller and more efficient. This room you're in was open all last winter. We heated it, we took care of it, we cleaned it, there were people in here using it. It's not closed. Now, if this was really a club, Sharon, a yacht club like I belong to, that's no problem. At the end of the year, you take this budget, you take the users, and you go, hey, you 52 people write me a check for $182,000. It would be closed in the wintertime.
Marty, in essence, we do that, and it's $10
No,
a
no,
year.
no.
Look
But
at
you're,
the summer.
we
It's
are
$10
reaching
a
in the
year.
pocket of people that couldn't find the yacht club
All
in
right,
the back.
look, this is way off subject.
It isn't off
Way.
subject. It is a subject. This budget is
Well, let me-
ridiculous.
We are not,
Let me ask another
we're not
question.
talking about the budget. We're
Okay,
talking about operations.
this is a budget question. On the fuel side, you've got $33,000 for propane gas. Does that take into consideration, what the heck's going on within, the environment today, energy environment?
It does.
It does, okay. So that's your low ball estimate, the 33,000.
I'm not sure what low blast.
Taking advantage of what the price of propane and or
We believe this is the
Tanks.
appropriate pricing based on that. Yes, sir.
and is this propane is piped in or is it tanked in? Is put in tanks?
We're looking at tanks.
Oh, you are looking. Now on the electricity side, has there been ever any consideration given, and I'm talking about, the whole campus, has there been any consideration given to looking at something similar to what Purdue has done up there off of Route 50 with a field of, and I understand that there are corporate entities around that would, set up this field of solar panels and buy and sell electricity from us. And since, the administration building is heated by electricity, and this is a big number, couple $1,000. Have we looked into that? Is that a possibility?
We have looked at it. We have.
Okay. No, I say yeah.
Had multiple talks with folks that have had that proposal. We're fortunate with our chop tank relationship, with our pricing's pretty strong compared to Delmarva Power as an example. And then, so we have looked at that. We're always looking at those strategies. I mean, the board can certainly look at any of them. There's a number of companies that present that. I'm always open to discuss them.
Okay. Dave? Yes. I'd like to go to the revenue side of this just for a minute. One of the ideas that was kicked around, and I forget where we kicked it around, but the idea, I think it was at Budget and Finance, they talked about possibly renting parking spaces very near over to where the condo, Pines Point Marina, thank you, so that we would be able to increase the number of tables. Because I remember the day we had to take the tables down because of the ruling on part of the county, the number of parking spaces we had. I won't get into all that. We shot John's stuff. But the bottom line is there an opportunity here for us to add tables, not now, obviously, but during the summer, by possibly spending a little more money to rent some space, but that could turn into more chairs and more customers. Is that a reasonable, or is that something that, because we'd have to have some kind of shuttle service or something. I mean, if it ends up not making us any money, I can't see doing it.
From a operational standpoint, it is something the E&F committee had brought up
Right.
through our discussions, and it is something we will explore for this upcoming season.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I think that
Doesn't mean- I can't tell you what the county will or won't approve.
Dennis, yes.
You can't see him.
I
Because there's a- yeah.
Dennis, are you trying to say something?
Well, two subjects. That meeting, partly not. It makes some
Hey, Dennis.
zoning and whatnot.
We can't hear you, Dennis.
And
I hear you.
I think that can be reopened. Well, you and I didn't get a chance to talk.
Okay, good.
Anyway, the other one is the
suggestion to the board, questions on the yacht club would be, at sales at $2.1 million, and expenses falling short by 88, how much more revenue do we have to get, and how are we going to get it to break? I think the top line number is revenue, because if there's efficiencies, the efficiencies fall through multiple dollars from the top. So I think one of our big problems is Bob is stuck with, this is a personal opinion of running a business, Bob is stuck with certain fixed costs because we have service expectations in that restaurant. All right? And when we fall short of those, what is the first thing we do?
Walk away.
We leave. And I have done it. I have done it myself. Walked away. So there's a point where Bob has to staff it. There's a point where the $2.1 million needs to go to $2.5 million. How do we get there is what we ought to be concentrating on. How in the world do we get the revenue up? Not raise the bridge instead of lowering the water. Because you're going to lower it to a point where the service falls off, and now you have multiple problems. Let's go the other direction. Let's raise the amount of revenue, and then we're not worrying about the bottom line.
Well, I have to disagree with that, Dennis. But I think keep raising revenues forever and not make a profit, or not break even. I think prove that over multiple years. It's lowering costs to match revenues that allow you to break even. And we've proved that, and we've proved that in past years. There's no question. So, and that's exactly my point. I mean, are we in a never-ending spiral? We're always saying we're going to get more revenues, and perhaps we will. But raising our revenues from what? 1.862 to 2.1, and we end up with if we're lucky, $87,000 loss. We're still losing money. I mean, are you saying, Dennis, that you think we can get to 2.5, we'll break even?
That's the question you're going to be asking.
Well,
I think, I would say, I'll bet not. What it will depend on, just as if we make 2 or we're making 1.5, on who's managing it and how well it's being managed. That's the issue.
And I'm not going to surprise anybody with what I'm about to say. The reality is if we lose dollars at the yacht club, it's the same thing as a subsidy. We are subsidizing aquatics in this budget more than we are the yacht club. Okay? We're talking about $10. We're talking about less, barely $1 a month. And you knew exactly where I was going, because it's exactly where we need to go. This is a club. This is owned by an association. This is an amenity that, if possible, it makes money. If possible, it breaks even. But if at the end of the day you have to subsidize it a little bit, and I'm talking about a little bit, I'm talking about $1 a month, for God's sakes, folks. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Look at your budget.
No, it's not.
I'm not going to look at my budget. Let's look at last year.
Okay.
No, it's not okay. The issue is exactly this. You want to run this place as efficiently as you can, as effectively as you can, but at the end of the day, Mr. Clark and I have had this different opinion since the day we met each other. This is an amenity.
that's because you were a bus.
That's correct. This is an amenity. It is not a freestanding business in Ocean City. It is an amenity voted on by the board of directors of this association, and it is here for our members, which is why it needs to be open at least most of the year, if not at least 4 days a week in the wintertime. And it's my personal belief that $1 a month from our membership to help subsidize this. And I would simply point out in this budget, we are subsidizing aquatics more than we are yacht club. So if we're going to stop subsidizing amenities, well, then we need to take a look at the one we're subsidizing the most.
Agreed.
Okay? So this is ridiculous.
We need to rethink this.
No, we don't.
The way
Actually,
we are
we don't.
managing our amenities.
No, actually, we don't.
Oh,
Actually, we
Marty,
don't.
Wait a minute. That's a statement I would disagree with.
Well, then go ahead and
Mismanaging.
just, may I correct that?
Mismanaging?
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, they
$182,000, invest $5 million, new building, and lose $182,000.
Hold on a
That's
second.
great.
Wait a second.
To Dennis, let me just show you what we're doing by fact and not by budget, okay? Last year's budget for revenues was $1,707,850. We exceeded that by $155,108. That sounds like you're right on the right track. The problem is our costs at the same time went up, $272,823. To quote a good friend of mine, who's one of the smartest business people I know, you ain't going to make that up with volume.
Let me just say
We're
something.
going in the wrong direction.
You're the president. Go for it.
Let me say something. Okay. Tom,
Yes.
the issue of subsidizing amenities is so okay. And I have never had a problem with the fact that we have to subsidize amenities. Never had. Never had a realistic expectation that they could break. But if you're saying that the amount that we subsidize amenities is open-ended,
No, of course not.
You didn't say
well,
I didn't say that.
well,
I never said that.
I mean,
I
well,
never said that.
then why bring up the subject of $10 is okay per person or $5
Why?
is okay per person? We've
Let
never
me
come
answer your
to an
question.
agreement on
I'll
that.
tell you. I'll answer your question. Because we've sat here almost an hour talking about $1 a month.
Let's be realistic. We
Okay.
lost 182. You divide that by 8,452 members, that's $22.
That's right.
Twice as
Correct.
much what
Yeah. Is $1 to $2 a month, for God's sakes, by membership. For
That's
God's sakes.
That's 100%
Well,
swing.
It's not the point, Marty. The point is we spent an hour here debating. If this board wants to lower the payroll in this budget, then lower it.
Thank you.
At the end of the day, he's still got to hire the people he needs, and he's just going to lose more money against budget. That's what's going to happen.
Lose more money than 182,
Really?
Yes.
which is 35% worse than the
Again.
5-year average.
Again,
Come on.
you throw numbers around like
It's all
the
right here in
world's
your
coming
book. All
along.
you got to do is add them up. Maybe if we looked at
Can I
it.
ask a question? How many people here have always had consistently good meals at the Yacht? Always. Never had anything good or bad.
I had one bit.
I have. The reason why I think part of that, when you look at this budget, you jump from 70,000 to 165. Okay, well, why do you
You're
do
talking
that?
this year.
Why do you do that? Yeah, why do you do that? Because what you do for it, then you don't have the problem. It's really tight. Things are going hard. Of one cook having to fill all these orders and not being consistently good with every single order. And that's the problem I see. I want to go in that yacht club. I want to have a good order every time. I am paying my money for it. And I want it. I don't want to have to hear that he doesn't have enough help. I don't want to have to hear that. And if you're not going to pay us this budget the way it is, then that's what you're going to have. You're going to have days when it's bad, and people are going to go in there and they're going to get a terrible meal, only because he's overworked and doesn't have enough support.
Well said, sir.
Very good. Can I ask questions about other things, not budget? Are we at that point yet? Okay. Thank you. Changing stations? Now then a grandmother? Okay. Have we taken care of any thoughts about the sound that's upstairs? I know we've got those little swag things. Are they staying up there?
Haven't decided that yet.
Okay. We request an additional fire pits.
Sharon, I'm fighting a budget.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm asking if any of these
no, I'm
things are
giving
in
you my
there.
answer. No, they're not in there
Okay.
because I knew that we got to get our bottom line stronger before I can
So
answer
the
this.
additional fire pit, which was requested, is not in there.
Correct.
I'm just asking. I want to talk to you personally about a handicap situation for parking. I'll talk to you outside of it.
I was going to bring that up
Fans.
at the next. Why don't you bring it up at the next
Managers meeting,
director board meeting
board meeting.
Thursday?
Okay. Ceiling fans outside was something to help with the flies. I know you've been talking and looking into that, and that was a suggestion. I don't know if that's in the budget.
Done.
Sports package for TV for the bar or a big screen TV. Not in there either. We have an advertising budget, I assume, in there. I don't know what it is.
Part-
That's part of her marketing, but it's not in here.
Correct. It's
No.
part of marketing.
Can you tell me what a capital staff is?
Yeah, the harbor master area.
Thank you. Okay. So that's going to be Cumbersville Park.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're open to sell beer and soda and ice and minnows and
Perfect.
coffee and whatever else boaters need early morning.
Good. Okay.
Minners.
I agree with the additional chairs that we need because the people love sitting up. I can't say that.
Adirondack chairs.
I know you mentioned getting them from Lowe's. My concern is, are they strong enough for the winds?
Keep in mind that we put an estimate in there from somewhere.
Or something like Lowe's. But
Yeah,
I mean, the
it-
plastic ones I'm thinking. Is that what you're thinking?
I'd love to do them all wood, Sharon.
I would too.
Yeah, but
I would.
the cost is also, we've got to be careful. Again, I'm trying to manage down to a
What I'm saying is I personally would rather see our public works do less of them and wood that are sturdy and won't blow over.
Okay.
That would be my comment. Okay, I mean, whatever you do is it's your budget. But I'm afraid those plastic typey things are going to go into the bag when we get wind of it.
They're also, you understand, plastic ones are also stackable and move very quickly, like we do with the
Good
white chairs.
point.
I mean, there's pros and cons to both. The wooden ones are the nicer ones, but you can get some nice plastic ones that you can stack.
People
And
love those chairs.
I
That
agree.
is- and the fire pit, a winner. It's a home run.
they are.
They are wood
These are
ones. Good.
that we got
Okay.
in here.
Cool. Okay, I could see them floating down the bay, that's all. Okay. So those were my questions. So those are things that I think we need. And they're not in this budget. I don't think a lot of them are expensive, but the sports package is something that they've been asking for on the clubs committee. The ceiling fans outside would help with getting rid of flies. And decor downstairs, fire, those kinds of things that we're asking.
How do you put a ceiling fan outside?
They're wired. They're already wired.
Yeah, we are.
Blades are there.
Rewired.
They just need the fans. And I don't
Under
know
the
where,
balcony,
like 8
when you first walk out,
When you first walk out,
Yeah.
you'll see them. They're all capped. They have
off cap.
pre-wired
So
for
it's
that.
just a matter of the cost of the fans.
Sharon is gratefully moved us into the capital expenditures part. Joe, you had your hand up a while
If
back.
I could comment, last year, same time, same place, few different people, Tom Terry, President Steve Dennis Hudson, at that point the chairman of the Budget Finance. If you compare what's said today to what was said the same time last year, Dennis is saying that we need to increase the volume. Tom is saying that we need people, we need to put them in. But I'll remind you what Board of Directors last year voted, I think Bob Thompson's budget last year, if I recall correctly, was about $95,000 loss.
97.
$97,000 loss. At the urging of Dennis Hudson, and then with the approval of Tom Terry and the Board of Directors, based upon Dennis's statement that was accepted by everyone, he said, we can't make money this year. We will never make money. And that was not this Board of Directors. That was the old Board of Directors when Sharon, Tom Terry, Bill Cordwell, Marty Clark were on it. A different majority, so to speak. But you voted essentially on the premise that if we can't make money this year, we'll never make money. Bob, he was closer than zero. But it appears that the loss is going to double what he was saying. And it looks like it might be the same thing next year.
Right.
We go through deja vu. And our fundamental problem is we don't know internally how to manage that kind of system. Amen. And we had Pud, who was manager. Then we had Joe Reinhold. I remember sitting over in the community center when Bob brought Joe Reinhardt in, and Joe brought all his fans in the meeting and begged the board of directors to let him continue to run that yacht club, that he was going to turn it around. Where's Joe Reinhardt? He's gone. He was the only manager that actually brought the price down.
Except
Then we
Pantera.
hired another manager, David, whom we were told was the savior,
Now the Savior's product. I mean, we just go on and on and on. I mean, if somebody looking from the outside can only come to one conclusion. We don't know what we're doing.
Amen.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to capital expenditures. What?
Did you have a question? I have a question.
No, go ahead. I do have a question, but go
This is
ahead.
more of a policy question. I thought somewhere along the line there was a motion made, seconded, voted on, that there was no smoking in our facilities. And I believe it
We
was
never had a motion. We talked about it, Marty.
Not we. This is going back to John McLaughlin. And I thought it passed that there was not to be smoking on the pool decks or anywhere around our facilities. I thought we were a no smoking campus. I could be wrong. I could care less. But I mean, I see smoking containers here. And,
It was inside the facility.
no, it was outside. So it was outdoor.
No, I remember
pools.
talking about it.
You're right.
It was
But I
at the
don't- I don't
it
remember
was
it
at the
passing.
pools. I think you're.
I mean,
It was John.
I can tell you one thing. I
The
can't
tiki
eat.
bar.
I mean, and I'm not.
I can't
used to
either.
smoke 2 packs a day.
I
for
know.
God's sake.
I used to smoke too.
I did too.
The outdoor deck at the yacht club in the summertime stunk.
Well, they don't allow smoking there now. Around the
We're
pool.
buying smoking.
No. They're not there. They're over by the doors of the yacht club, so people have a place to dump their ashes or their butts. Because people do smoke outside of the deck, but not by the pool area.
That's where we voted not to have smoke.
Well, we never had an outdoor deck like this, like we have now. We have a huge deck now.
We have a huge area.
So all they had was 2 areas.
Where are we talking about putting this?
Aren't they out by the
Where are we talking
by the
about
deck
putting
by
these
the yacht
things?
club?
Outside.
You've got one there now.
Oh, I'm sorry. The smoking area was supposed to be out between the yacht club, sort of in front of where the flag is, that general area. But now I'm going to go back because Marty makes a point. John did. We had a motion, but I don't remember what it covered. We'll follow. I can follow up on
I don't
that.
remember.
Within the pool area.
We're not
That's
getting.
what
my-
I- that's
we're not
what I
getting my
remember in the
community
pool area.
center, thoughts.
I don't know how you're gonna do something on the entire deck.
You just police it. That's how you do it.
No
You
smoking.
police it. No
We could
smoking,
start with
period.
people
Oh,
bringing
that's
their
there's
own
a sign
beer
saying
into
this is a
that.
no
That would be
smoking
good
campus
place to start.
facility.
They've already started
I
that.
don't know.
Have they?
Is that something the board wants to occur or not?
What's that?
The policy of no smoking for the entire, or just look into it?
I'd like to know what the policy is.
Yeah,
I'll have
look
that by
into
the
it,
board
see what it
meeting.
says.
We'll try to have that by the board
Yeah.
meeting.
My memory is that it was in the swimming area, but hell, find out.
Tom, do you know that?
No.
I think it was.
I thought it was the pool
That's what I
building too.
thought.
But I've seen people smoke cigars.
I've seen people bring a cooler to the yacht club deck.
I've seen that too. That's not right. They should be asked to leave. I mean, Bill Cordwell spends a lot of money at that.
Well, I never saw it because I'd have gone and told them,
Good for
get
you.
out of here. I ain't putting up with that. That's
No,
my
I saw.
yacht.
Yeah, they came through with it.
Okay. Other capital expenditures. Other.
It's not. It doesn't happen.
Okay, Jack, I'm talking.
Sorry.
I'm wondering about the expenditures, the larger ones down at the bottom. 20,000 for the outside service bar, storage shed, beer system, tiki bar, hurricane shutters. Are they not part of the costs for the yacht club?
They are not.
So none of that was included.
You're on page 5.
on page
Page
five.
5,
Yeah.
bottom of page 5.
I thought what's a draft beer system?
It's inside that when it's the big cooler with the system that feeds the upstairs and downstairs bar. We had the pipes, the conduits run out the tiki bar,
Right.
not the actual glycosamine,
Okay.
glycol lines. The conduits are there.
See, I was under the impression that the yacht club referendum included tiki as a support of the yacht club. I think it was shown as part of the package. Now my memory is 3 years ago.
No, it was in the pack. I think the issue here again, it's the conduits. The building itself was in the referendum. The conduits to be put in, and I don't know if the beer system was in it or not. I know the building and the conduits were. The shutters are the only thing that, at one point I might have thought were in the original, but apparently they weren't. So they were not.
It's also a security situation, right? I mean,
Oh, it
close
is.
the shutters.
It
You
is.
don't have to break down that bar.
Yeah, you end up breaking down the bar every night without the shutters. It's true.
I need to know something, Mr. President.
Yes.
Bob, can you explain to me the difference between install outside service bar at the yacht club and the use of the tiki bar? Can the tiki bar act as a outside service bar? And I assume that's for the restaurant attendees and the ladies coming up and say, "Hey, I need this, that." What is the most efficient way of doing this? Allowing the tiki bar staff to act as a service bar to create a unique service.
We believe it's a unique service bar. That it's not for guests to come up. It's for the staff to come up and get their drinks, their table orders. If you recall, one of the challenges we had last summer were lines at the bars. And then when the tiki bar opened, we had some improvement, but we still had that backlog. We had competing elements at the bar for folks trying to, we had servers going around to get drinks, and then they'd come and they'd have to wait in line to get a drink made for the order they took either at a table or out on the deck area. So having a separate, dedicated service bar for service only it doesn't interfere with the patrons.
So in order to do that, got to increase staff. Got to have a new bartender, right? Yeah. So and the idea is that it would increase efficiency because the tiki bar and the inside bar would operate at a higher efficient level. Is that what you're saying? Because the waitresses or waiter does not have to come up to the end of the bar.
Yep, absolutely.
So is this affordable?
Yeah, it's our intent between the pool and the building itself, under the upper deck there, where the stairway is. There's a spot right there, right behind the beer system and everything. Priced out putting a small one where you can pull the shutter down at night so you can close it off, something simple. It's also, from a flow standpoint, there's two doors there that staff can utilize that the guests don't typically utilize, and it can get them in and out of the service or in and out of the serving areas very quickly.
Is that where they used to serve hot dogs?
Yes, absolutely.
You'll still be able to do the hot dogs in there?
Well, that's what we're going to look
That
at.
can be anywhere.
Yeah, it can be anywhere. And if you, yes, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of the things that I see aren't on here, and Sharon has mentioned it, and I would just like to, when you're talking about efficiencies and running effectively, the fans for the outside, if in fact that would help manage, we weren't the only place with a fly problem. We appeared to have the biggest problem. If the fans in fact would help with that, I think that's money well spent if we were to do that. And I can assure you, from walking around on that deck for Friday and Saturday night many times last summer, virtually everybody I talked to wanted to know why we didn't have 2 or 3 more fire pits as opposed to just the one. So I think the fans are probably more of a operational impact than another fire pit, although we're going to hear why the hell didn't you build another fire pit over and over again. My understanding fire pits are about $10,000.
Correct.
How much would the fans be? Roughly.
Commercial fan.
Yeah.
5 out there, so you're looking at up downstairs.
$2,000?
2,500 total.
In total.
No wonder 3.
2,500.
2,500?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
2,500?
What's a big screen TV?
$500 on sale.
I wish.
Yeah, go to
1,200.
Yeah,
Just get,
1,200 for a big, for
get
a
a third generation.
See, personally, I think we need big screen TV. I've been asking.
where would that go?
I
Where
don't know.
goes the question?
That's the issue.
I guess inside the wall, the downstairs area.
No inside.
Got nothing but glass in the
Oh,
bar.
you know. Well, in the bar. I mean, that wall next to the bar.
Where the band sets up.
The band sets
where
up,
the
okay. That's the only place.
As you're walking into the bar, just to the left, that wall, I guess, is what you're talking about.
And
you're
the
gonna sit
fans
and
and a
watch.
fire pit. I agree. Those three things are.
I'm just trying to go back to me, if I put an order together of criticality here, you know, the fans are number one to me. $2,500 if it can help handle the fly issue. I think it's well worth adding it into this budget, and I think it's something we ought to do. Fire pit, yeah, the fire pits are something that our membership clearly wants. The big screen TV, I think it's Dave just asked a very good question. Where are people going to sit to watch this TV? I'm not against having the TV.
Where they just put all those high tables.
The high
They're
tables
going to take
around
the high
that.
tables out.
Yeah,
No,
well,
the
or
high
leave them
tables
in
are
and
there.
have
It
the
works
TV there. Again,
It
it's,
works there.
If you remember, I brought the suggestion from Clubs Committee.
you did.
Their suggestion was put big screen the outside of the bar, on the wall,
Right. Is
between
your,
the bar opening and the other door.
Right.
Have the high tops there.
Right.
Now, they just got 5 high tops and apparently full a weekend or Monday.
Right.
Everybody loves
They're
it.
there.
But they were talking about the big screen and the
Sports
NFL package.
Right, right.
The big ticket there is the sports package.
Yeah,
That's like
it's a lot of
$7,500.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
I'm not asking for that. Let's get TV get started.
I make the sports package. When Bill brought that up a couple months ago, I went back and looked and talked to the manager who was here then, and he was making money. We went out and bought the package. We put up the dishes over at the old yacht club, and it paid more money for the package than we brought in revenue.
I'm not going to ask, but I'm not asking if I need TV because we've got other TVs on. So whatever the main game is.
What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 TVs?
4, 5 small TVs.
4 or 5 TVs.
Yeah, but I don't know. I still don't picture the big one, but it doesn't matter. It's really not
No,
a big expense.
Yeah, it goes where I mean I know where it goes because when they had band, I mean, they had
Entertainment.
entertainment.
It goes right there.
It goes right in the same place.
Again, I just think that as we're looking at things that aren't on the capital page, you know, as much as we don't like to add stuff to it, I think the fans clearly, again, I'm listening to the membership as far as the fire pits go. I'm kind of where Bill is, I think, when it comes to, and Marty, when it comes to the sports package. If in fact being able to, and I'm going to be practical here, so it's a shock, but you'd have one big screen TV, you can only show one game at a time.
That's correct.
The NFL package allows you to watch the Green Bay Packers play San Diego somewhere. That's not going to be on our big screen. I think that's $7,500 as much as, you know. Yeah, I'd take it and put it on the fire pit myself, and almost pay for the fire pit.
I would agree with you if we'd already approved the 7,500.
No, I'm just again of the 4 things: fans, fire pit, big screen TV, and the sports package. 3 of those 4, I think, do make sense to add to it budgetarily. I understand why you didn't have them in here. I got it. I know why they're not here. But at the same time, as a board, at the very least, I think we ought to do the fans and the fire pit. I really do. I think that's something that clearly people are looking for us to take action on.
We're talking less than $15,000 here. TV fans.
Right.
What about the fire pit and the fans?
That's what she
So
said.
it's 12.5.
Well,
That's
With the big screen, you're about
That's-
14,000. All 3 of them.
All right.
I mean, we're
What
pulling
if
the
you
numbers
did
out of
the
the
TV,
air.
you cut down some.
$1,200,
About $1,200. I mean,
$1,000, whatever.
But does that increase our liability?
On what, fire?
Well, kids
Well, I don't know.
burning themselves on the fire pit and all that jazz. I mean, instead of one, you got two or three. I mean, does that increase our liability or what?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if our
Well, I mean,
insurance
you
would
were
go
a
up or
bus
not.
boy, so I thought you were
Oh, then authoritatively, I would tell you no. Okay, I don't.
Or is anybody suggesting that Bob add the TV to the,
I hope not. I'm not suggesting it.
okay, Jack's against it,
I am.
I am suggesting those three things are.
Bill's for it, know that he's suggesting it again. I think Marty's probably time for it.
We spent $5 million to lose 182. I'm doing spending.
Spending, on the other hand, Pat,
Actually, I mean, I don't care. I don't go use the bar. I don't use the that facility.
well, I haven't seen that it works for the entertainment with the chairs out there. At least see.
Yeah.
Building's just not set up for it.
Well,
Building is not set up for it.
there is a place does work. I'm pretty sure.
You talking about the TV?
I mean, I've seen the entertainment there. We've been there. Kind of works with big tables around stuff like that. It's another gathering place where people go.
Bob can buy a fixture over there.
So actually,
It's really an important issue.
this is not a board issue. Okay, I think the majority of the board would
I would guess
suggest
the fire
that you
pit.
find the money to buy a big screen TV. And,
What about the fans and fire?
the fans, I think, does everybody agree?
Yes.
Yeah, get the fans. But fire pit,
Fan work, lights up.
don't know.
Even if it doesn't,
It moves the air.
It
around,
moves the
so
air.
It does work.
it's really hot under.
I look at it like the geese solution. Anything is worth trying.
Give it a
Anything
If I
is
close
worth.
the door,
Yeah, fan.
Well,
I
they
don't
don't.
care.
The wait staff goes in and out, and leaves the door open.
All right. So I think that settles that. Fire pits. I don't personally. I'm sure I don't really care. Yeah, no fire pit. And it's a big ticket item. Why add it to the budget? Anybody strongly want? I know
I'm
Tom wants
strongly in
to-
favor
You're
of
strongly
fire
in favor of another fire.
Only because of the amount of people there. There are 3 people deep. They're doing activities around there. It's more.
It's very,
It is very popular.
and most of the people I said, why don't you have three?
I think at least get one more.
All right. Pat, you're neutral. Marty, you don't care. And
If we're going to sell seats for the fire pits,
okay. Okay, all right. We'll sell seats. Jack, against.
Oh, I'm for it. I mean, I've been surrounded by people who are actually the customers there saying, why don't we have at least one?
All right. I'll go along. Fire. George, 4-3.
And one other question I want to ask: do we need to do anything about considering the sound feature upstairs?
I think he's.
Oh, yeah,
We're
we,
Are you
talking
looking
about
into that?
the old yacht club.
of course we
The
do.
reason we spent $5 million was because of the sound upstairs. When let's start.
Is that what's on?
Not quite, but
Not quite.
not
Part
quite.
of it. Made that feature
It
like the
was
yacht.
it was a fact. I don't know. I mean, that's again. I mean, there's a lot of issues around yacht. That's certainly one.
Biggest issue, which we have just walked away from, of course, is 3% increase in payroll.
And we're not adding the sports package, right? We're not doing that.
No.
Okay. As a board, we're not doing that. I would agree with that. I think there's only so many
Screen,
games.
But the big screen TV is yes.
So we're going to put a big screen TV around the fire pit. Is that what we
No, we're going to put it in the fire pit, Joe.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the fire
It's
pit.
gonna be
Actually,
curved
we're going to
TV,
eliminate
be
the
really
fire
nice.
pit
Sort
and
of
buy
curves
that
around the
flaming
fire pit.
video.
Now you're talking. See, now you're
Really.
brain.
Okay, can we move from the yacht club?
Sure, we're not getting anywhere, might as well.
Under Venus.
What are we doing next?
No, the yacht club.
How about a break?
It's half.
Yeah,
Can we take a
That's
break?
the best.
that's a great idea.
That's the best idea.
Right?
Yeah.